New changes are coming to the USA weather pattern. This comes as some parts of the eastern US are going to be cool behind a front as we go into the weekend and next week, while other zones out west are going to be on the warmer side in comparison to average. We will also see some zones be stormy while others are dry. Stick around for the full video so that you catch all the latest details on the forecast ahead. Before I get into the meat of this video, here is a quick reminder that you can always check out the free trial and subscription link to WeatherBell down below for access to the maps I use in my videos for yourself. In addition to that, of course, you can always subscribe to me for free right here on YouTube after watching this update if you have not already and you want more from me in the future. Thanks for joining me in today's video. I'm going to start today's update by overviewing what's going to be going on in the jet stream 15 to 20,000 feet on up into the sky over the next several days and how that is going to impact the weather pattern down at the surface. Let's start as we finish this week and go into our Friday, May 9th of 2025, where there will be a couple of pieces of jet stream energy to note, and they are going to be, just like what I talked about in my last video with a couple other systems, detached from the main area of jet stream energy. As the polar jet stream will be flowing quite consistently and continuously up in Canada, we're going to have two cutoff pieces of energy swirling down in some parts of the southern and eastern US in particular. Here's one of them with a low pressure system that could bring some active weather to some parts of the northeast US as we finish this week and go into the weekend. The other one will be getting itself together down here near Louisiana, begin to get itself together with showers and storms already near the Gulf Coast out of Friday, but we will likely see especially the east side of that system kick up even more as we go towards next week, as what looks like a donut, a CD, whatever you want to call it, only gets itself together in the jet stream by the time we go towards our Monday, May 12th. We are going to likely have a low pressure system sitting somewhere near Louisiana in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, not down at the surface, but up in the atmosphere. And as it swirls around, the winds in the mid to upper levels of the sky are going to be flowing around it in the direction that I am drawing these lines, counterclockwise, southwest to northeast on its east side, from the north to the south on its west side overall, and especially where we get that south to north pull of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico on the east side of the system is where we'll get the better chance for showers and storms. So in the southeast US, be on the lookout for that as we go into next week. Meanwhile, in the general scope of the pattern across the country, the main continuous polar jet stream will be rising all the way on up into Canada. That is going to be allowing for warmer than average temperature conditions to generally expand east in zones that will not be getting these showers and thunderstorms on the east side of that new cutoff low as it really gets together. And as that cutoff low continues to the east, it will pretty much be the only area where we continue to see cooler than average temperatures as it moves further towards the eastern seaboard. Back to the west of there, we'll continue to warm up through especially the central and plains regions of the U.S. Let's go ahead and use this future radar overview on screen to see who is going to get wet from our cutoff low pressure systems and their impacts as we go through the next several days, and who will be wet and dry over other parts of the country. As we start this playthrough going into our Friday, May 9th of 2025, you can see there will be two main zones to watch for showers and storms, and you guessed it, they will be associated with those two cutoff low pressure systems that I was just talking about moments ago. The first one's going to be right on up here in parts of the northeast U.S., where especially on the east side of the system, where we get a south to north wind flow, parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and some parts of Connecticut will have the best chance for showers and storms. Some storms could extend all the way back down the eastern seaboard from there, though, in at least isolated to scattered fashion. The best chance for flooding, though, will be on up in those northeastern states I mentioned. We could also see some flooding down here with that other low pressure system as it starts to organize and will bring a mess of on and off showers and thunderstorms, particularly right near the Gulf Coast in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, parts of Florida as well. Again, that is for our Friday and into our Friday night. As we go out of Friday night and then into our Saturday and Sunday, we will continue to watch the northeastern U.S. low pressure system departing through parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine with the last rounds of rain there. Isolated flooding could still be possible in those zones, maybe a little bit further south into the weekend, but our main threat for flooding will be coming as that low pressure materializes closer to the Gulf Coast. More rounds of on and off showers and storms. It could be raining more times than not in many parts of southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern and central Alabama, central and southern Georgia, and parts of North Florida and central Florida at least through our Saturday afternoon and evening. In fact, it looks pretty similar, especially in the afternoon where we get some daytime heating sparking up those storms on the east side of our center of low pressure once again on Sunday. That won't be the only wet area of the country, though, as we go out of Sunday into next week. While that cutoff low will begin to expand north and east, bringing more parts of the southeastern U.S. in on some action that could eventually lead to flooding. That will be around Monday by 12, 1, 2 o'clock. We will also be watching some energy moving through parts of the far northwestern U.S. with the main polar jet stream, and as that moves through, it could send chances for mountain snow and then some lower elevation rain through parts of northern California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. Otherwise, though, we will continue to see our main focus be with that flooding threat that will come with that low pressure system as it finally begins to move very slowly at that, but it will be moving through the southeast U.S. By around Tuesday, better threat for storms will shift out of the Gulf Coast, not necessarily Florida, but most of the rest of the Gulf Coast, and then especially start moving north and east. To the east side of our low pressure system, indicated in the darker greens, that's where we'll get a bigger pull of moisture and a better flood threat. That will include exiting North Georgia and the western Carolinas, getting even closer to the Carolina coast, parts of the mid-Atlantic. If you won't be seeing a flood threat in the mid-Atlantic by Tuesday, it'll probably come into Wednesday as we see new rounds of showers and storms training over the same spots. I think that low will be more disorganized by the time we go towards Wednesday. And around that same time, we'll also be seeing some disorganized activity moving through some parts of the northwest and then out over some parts of the northern plains, most of it falling in the form or fashion of rain and storms, some of it as snow as you get on up there in the higher elevations of southwest Montana and through parts of Wyoming. In terms of blended guidance and what it's showing for total precipitation across the U.S. through the next several days, let's take a look at what could add up by the time we get through around our Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday timeframe of next week. Some of that rain there in the Ohio Valley is from a front that is currently ongoing as of the time I'm recording this video, but these pockets of rain are especially going to fall as we go out of Friday and into the weekend. This one up in the northeast U.S., where 1 to 3 inch rain totals in those zones I mentioned earlier could certainly stack up to some isolated flooding, especially for the first half of the weekend. Down near the Gulf Coast, flood threats will only go up and up, as we will already see 1 inch to 3 inches with locally higher amounts by our Sunday afternoon, and continue likely adding up the rain from there. Again, in a lot of the lower parts of our Gulf Coast states, as well as in some parts of central and north Florida, rain will continue to expand northeast into next week, especially over the southeast U.S., and that's why flood threats will grow even through the northern parts of the Gulf Coast states, the rest of the southeast, and eventually the mid-Atlantic. With that being said, that leaves me with the last thing that I tend to talk about in most of my videos, that is your temperature forecast for the next few days across the U.S. Starting into our Friday, May 9th of 2025, we're behind that cutoff low in the east. We will be looking at a lot of 50s and 60s in some parts of the Ohio Valley and the northeast, as it will technically be dragging a cold front closer to the east coast along with it. A little warmer further south towards the Gulf Coast, some 70s and 80s, pretty normal for this time of the year, and we'll go down a little bit even as we go into the weekend as we continue to watch precipitation, keeping temperatures near to below average down there. Meanwhile, back in the west and the plains, a whole different story. The jet stream is going north like this, so you can guess the temperatures are going to be heading north on the thermometer as well. 80s and 90s in a lot of the valleys and parts of the western states, including even eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, southwestern Idaho. We could see some record-breaking highs in northwest Nevada into central California with some mid to upper 80s, even getting into the low 90s there. And the flow from the south to the north in the west and the plains will only build as we go out of Friday into Saturday. Look at this. We could be near 90 on the Montana and North Dakota border on Saturday. By Sunday, warming up even more, especially over the north central plains, as the jet stream will generally be like this, and we will be seeing a strong pull of above average temperatures up towards it. Mid and upper 80s through the central plains, including eastern Wyoming and eastern parts of Colorado, through parts of northern Kansas and Nebraska, getting up into the 90s up there in the Dakotas and Minnesota, and a lot of those 90s will be breaking records. You should not be seeing those maroon and grayish shades on this temperature map in that part of the country, really at any time of the year, but especially on Sunday, May 11th. Notice what's going to be going on in the southeast U.S., though. While the plains warm up into next week, keep in a bubble of cooler temperatures with all that cloud cover from that low pressure system, a lot of 60s and 70s, mainly 70s, and that will be the trend at least through Monday into Tuesday. With that being said, that's all I have for today's video, so make sure subscribing down below if you have not already. Thanks for watching this update, everyone. God bless you as always.